I studied civil engineering at one point. I didn't finish it. I think I did it about 3 years. And then I figured out that it's not me being involved in projects that sort of, with just one project, a bridge, atomic power station, whatever, taking about 10 years, and I'm just a small little wheel. And I wanted to be more creative, more short-lived, demanding projects and changing projects. I'm a problem solver. That's the bit I enjoy. But some people said I was not made for school. I always had problems writing, reading. My teachers forced me to read loud in front of the class. It was torture, actually. I still have issues, white paper, having to write reports or things like that. That's probably one of the reasons I do my own company. If I have a problem, a high-tech problem, I can distill that and I can find solution and I can simplify things. When it comes to wording or text, it's weird. It's just the other way around. I start reading something and it's just, or I have to write something, and the possibilities suddenly open up. I'm not distilling, reducing and simplifying. I'm actually opening up all the possibilities, and at the end I'm totally lost within that. That's why I try to keep things short, bullet points. That helps. Sometimes I use even spreadsheets to do some more detailed analysis, even if it's a lot of writing in them, just because it's structured. It helps. It's a guidance. I think the first time I started sort of to do this, to set up a company on my own, was to develop a universal camera controller, and all I saw is that something like that didn't exist at that time. That was a time where all cameras still had film, and actually you needed to swap, to unmount one mode and bolt another one on in order to do animation or whatever. So there was no camera out there that actually had an electronic controlled mechanism. And I just saw that as a need for filmmakers. And I haven't thought about it. I just thought, we need this, and I gathered as much information as I could. I didn't know anything about electronics or software development, and just figure it out by talking to people. The internet wasn't there at that time. And the natural, oh yeah, and then I went for an innovation grant, and in order to have that, you need to have a company, so I had a company. And that's how it came. But wanting to do this or solve this problem of providing a digital camera controller was the driver. Everything else sort of followed that. That was a camera tracking system, funny enough. It was an optical camera tracking system. I came across a sensor called PSD, and I found that. I thought, that must help me something. And then I saw the need in future for tracking cameras and figuring out their space. I mean, this was 1997. So virtual studios, camera tracking wasn't that popular at that time at all. I had an idea. I got some UK Smart Award funding to prove the concept. And we proved it potentially would work. But then, of course, there was no money of turning it into a product and taking it to market. And then I sort of reverted back to developing remote heads. And that was actually just to create the cash to go back to the optical tracking system. And that took quite a long time. It actually took 20 years. 15. But it's good that it happens. Things happen in life for a reason, and it was good that there was this gap, because 20 years ago there was very little demand for camera tracking virtual studios, and all this stuff is coming up now. It becomes a wider market, and it is more and more normal. I mean, there's hardly any image you see on television or anything that is not a combination out of a real video or real footage and a computer generated part in it. So combining those two is now mainstream. 20 years ago it wasn't. For an entrepreneur, I don't think things happen in steps. Of course, it is nice to say as an opening sentence, we did the camera and lens robotics for the film Gravity. And that's like a door opener in a way, but that doesn't match the sort of pride or emotions behind it. If you constantly work on something, it's something constant. There are no spikes, but it more is like a flywheel where you put energy in it, a little bit of energy at every moment, and it starts slowly to spin, and every more energy you put in and spins faster and faster and faster and faster until it sort of takes up speed and drags other things basically into that energy. It's not in steps. It's a real linear process. I crashed twice a company, and I didn't enjoy that at all. It was a really, really sad moment. I had a team around me and people helped me through that time without being paid even, to build up everything again. But everybody else around and outside, you are not looked at very positively, and I don't know, it feels like you're cheating or something like that. And everybody presumes you just cheat and put money somewhere and crash a company. And that is sad in a way, because I think what that country needs is people that try, that have the guts to try and attempt. And if you try, you can do things wrong. And there's nobody actually guiding you, telling you what to do. There are attempts now to get more mentors involved in business, and I think that is a great thing. But it should be mentors that have had their own company. There's nothing worse than advisors who think to run companies. I wouldn't attach that to a particular person, but there are the obvious ones, that is sort of, I don't know, Dyson or Jobs. And I keep thinking, how did they do that, to be involved in the smallest detail, but yet have the helicopter view? And that is one of the biggest challenges, to have that. You have to be at the bottom, in the detail, make decisions that others criticize you for micromanagement, but at the same time have the helicopter view. And that is really difficult. There is no guidance. The textbook version would be you delegate. But if you would do this, you end up with maybe a team that does your market research. The market research people go to the R&D with some specs, and you come up with a product that is just a Me Too product. It's not something that is a step further, because you can't ask others what they, I mean, like Henry Ford said, if you would have asked the people, they would ask for faster horses. People, and gathering the right people around you. It's interesting when you, at the beginning, you follow your gut instinct, you have a vision, you know what is needed. You check that vision with potential buyers of the market, but everybody else around you probably doesn't see that. And you have to be quite stubborn, you have to believe just what you see, and you just have to go for it and develop some sort of pretty tough skin around you, which also makes you to team up more with other visionaries that are dreamers like yourself. But actually, in order to run companies, you need not that many dreamers, you need doers around you. And only later you discover that you actually need quite a lot of doers around you. Also, there's an interesting change in what is required from you as a person. Initially, you start off stubborn, thick-skinned, believe in your ideas, don't listen to anybody else. While later, when your team is growing, you should suddenly turn into somebody who listens and just guides and not gets involved. That's really tough. Try, go for it. Always work with a close customer. Always try your things. Always you don't need to make money on your first deal, but have a customer that is like a partner and guides you. And don't get lost in very special things they want. You have to develop the use your gut feeling to see if this is mainstream, what that customer wants, or if it's a little special one. I never had investment into the company. I always grew the company with finding the right customer that needs just a little bit more than we already have developed. And I had a roadmap for about 10, 15 years, and we pretty much followed that. So work together with a key customer. Don't just do your thing and expect everybody to want that. The other thing is, going back to the flywheel, things do take their time. And don't expect, like I did, we had a brilliant product at one of the trade fairs and I expected everybody wanting to buy that. It's not like that. There's an amazing inertia to get something into the market until people pick up trust. You build up reputation, and that does take time. But again, this is like inertia. Once you do that, other things will happen easier. It takes time. This UK government does a good job of providing what they call R&D tax relief. So if you invest into R&D, you get some tax relief. What would be good if they would do the same thing to large companies that partner up with small ones. If you're a small company, and let's say there's a large company that could use your products, the people are really rare in those large organizations that take the risk. If they have been using product A for about 10 years, now suddenly turning to a little company, no track record, building clever stuff that could help, but actually taking the risk, having the guts to settle for something that is not proven, people could lose their jobs in those larger organizations, and therefore they avoid doing that. So if there would be like a similar tax relief benefit for those large companies, taking products of companies that are part of the R&D tax relief to some sort of formula, I think that would make the decision makers make it easier, because the loss would be smaller, but also it would like a conscious decision. Somebody's actively taken a step and inviting innovation, and people would not look that bad in case something does go wrong or is not as expected. So I think that would work or make a big difference.